Hello everyone and welcome to my video. And this is about the German Europa Masters of the Universe audio play series, which was very popular over here. And let me tell you some more about it. So, what was it? It was basically a series containing 37 episodes of Masters of the Universe. They were all released on those audio cassettes. Each episode would run about 40 minutes, and you would pay like 7 Deutschmarks back in the day per episode, which is about €3.50, a little bit less in US currency would be $3, like I don't know, 30, 40 cents, which today, which of course back then was way more. Let me equivalent to that. I think back in the day it would cost me like 2 weeks of so-called pocket money, which is Taschengeld, to buy an episode. So I think it was okay, but of course it wasn't like cheap. Those episodes were produced in German language, mainly for the German, Austrian, and Swiss market, which all speak that language. Mattel exclusively licensed Masters of the Universe to Europa, Europe, the company, which was quite famous even then for several of audio plates they were releasing in Germany. To maybe give context to that, audio plays were always very big in Germany because it was a big heritage of releasing famous books or storylines in a serialized way, and it was really huge back then. Coming from record discs in the 70s and 80s, really like going to the cheaper priced cassette versions, which were really big among kids back in the day. I remember that my friends back in the school were like heavily collecting, and we were like trading, and that was kind of a currency back then. The series was produced from 1984 to 1988 and, as before mentioned, contained 37 episodes. On each cassette there was one episode. Of course, you had two sides and you had to switch the tape basically. And each story would run about 40 to 45 minutes. And each story was very important, was like complete, so self-contained. So it wasn't like a narrative that would go on per cassette. You would kind of get the basic story from the beginning to the end. There were some minor exceptions, like in the later run of the series, they would basically have like one or two cassettes and continue, but I think it was very important because back in the day it was really fun to have that one story, dream about it, or like play with your figures, reenact it, and then once the next cassettes were released, you would basically have a new story to reenact with your Masters of the Universe vintage figures you were collecting, of course, back in the day. What was really nice were the titles of the cassettes, and you see some of them in the picture here, but let me give you an idea how creative those were, and kind of giving you an idea what the content of this was. For example, the first episode was called Sternenstaub, which means stardust. Or there were titles like Das Todestor, which means Gate of Death. I'll give you some more examples. We have The Invincible Dragon, der unbezwingbare Drache, Höhle des Schreckens, Cave of Terror, and titles like Mechanic and The Heritage of Doom. So you can basically see there were some really nice titles, and the writers actually of this series really went above and beyond, especially for a kids series, to give you really colorful, imaginative tales, which was really a highlight of that series. So, why was this produced? Of course, there was a very successful figure series back then for Mattel, and actually, I think Mattel came up with the idea in the first place because they wanted the children to give something to reenact with the figures, like a storyline, like a plot. Once they would buy the figures, you could reenact some storylines. And of course there was the mini comic in that figures, but I really remember the Filmation cartoon. Actually, the series wasn't really aired on German television, that you could buy them as a VHS tape, which were very expensive. So reenactment wasn't like you would switch on the TV, watch an episode of the Filmation cartoon, go to your playroom and actually play, but you only had the mini comic and maybe some other comics back in the day. But having those audio tapes, which would tell you a complete storyline, you can reenact with the figures, that was a really good selling pitch. And I think that Europa and Mattel really willingly joined up to deliver that. And actually there was sales potential involved. If you follow the storyline or the episodes, you would really see that new characters were introduced into the toy line, into the audio play series, and Europa would pick up on those new characters Mattel would buy. So there was really a symbiosis, I think, of both companies to do that audio play series, and then 37 episodes kind of tell the story, actually give proof that it was a really successful one. It would run for 4 years, spun like 37 episodes, and would really sell very well. Let's talk a little bit about why the series was so special and so successful, because I was said this before, it was very successful, it was high quality produced, it had imaginative stories detached, its own storyline, it had dedicated voice actors, and a really high quality way of setting this up. So they weren't like picking like the audio track from the Filmation cartoon or something. They'd really like go deep into the script writing, and they would really cast great actors, and really working on the dialogue scenes. They would kind of create special music for it, and it was really well made. Again, Europa had like years of experience in previous audio plays back then, and they were kind of having this professional approach to the series, to the Masters of the Universe audio series as well. And I will basically after that provide you with 2 examples, which is basically the intro music from each tape, and after that you will hear a short conversation, and last but not least, He-Man's transformation. This is a scene where he basically says, by the power of Grayskull, I have the power, which in German is, bei der Macht von Grayskull, ich habe die Kraft, or ich habe die Zauberkraft. So have fun listening to these audio bits. After that the video basically ends. I hope you had fun with it. There's more content on my channel which basically features Masters of the Universe, memorabilia, videos, the figures and all that stuff. So if you like this video, you might want to check this out. Thank you very much for being interested in that stuff, for actually watching the video, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye bye.
Das ist Skeletor, dieser Teufel.
Wo ist er?
Seine Stimme kommt von dort oben, aus einem Lautsprecher.
Ja, das ist Skeletor. Tina, Herrscherin von Eternia. Ich Herr über die Mächte des Bösen.
Bei der Macht von Grayskull. Ich habe die Zauberkraft.